Welcome back, friends. Today, I'm breaking down when I reincarnated, I stood at the top with supernatural cheats. So here's the setup. Deep inside a mountainous cave system, bolts of spiritual lightning are tearing through the rock. This energy is rare. We're talking one of the most coveted attributes in this world. And a squad has been sent to harvest it. Leading the team is a woman named Kaori. She's sharp, confident, clearly the one calling the shots. With her are two younger guys who basically worship the ground she walks on. Their job is simple. Use a device called a spirit collector, basically a thermos-looking container, to capture the lightning energy and bring it back. Kaori steps up, channels the lightning, and fires it towards the collector. The two guys are losing their minds, cheering, hyping her up. And honestly, it is impressive. She's wrestling raw lightning with her bare hands. But then the collector starts cracking. The energy is too dense, too volatile. Kaori's eyes go wide. Before anyone can react, boom, the whole thing detonates. The spiritual energy is spiraling out of control now. Kaori immediately calls for a retreat. Lightning is arcing everywhere. The ground is shaking, and the team bolts into the underbrush. That's when Kaori spots him. A guy crouched in the tall grass, wearing a hoodie, looking completely out of place. She's furious. Yells at him to leave. This isn't a place for civilians. But this guy? He's not scared. He's grinning. He mutters something under his breath, locks onto the out-of-control lightning, and takes off running, straight toward it. The two guys are stunned. They're screaming that he's going to die. Kaori can't believe what she's seeing. And then the lightning hits him. Full force. A direct strike that would have vaporized anyone else. He doesn't flinch. The energy wraps around his body, crackling across his skin. And he just absorbs it, all of it. The entire unstable vortex that a trained squad couldn't contain. This guy in a hoodie just swallowed it whole. Kaori's jaw drops. She realizes what she's looking at. Someone who has awakened the ultra-rare lightning attribute. This wasn't luck. This guy has a system. A cheat-level interface that let him select and power up lightning spiritual energy. Even after the system warned him it costs twice the normal amount. He didn't care. He hit yes without hesitating. And now, standing in the aftermath, with electricity dancing around his fists, our MC makes a declaration. In this life, he says, not even the heavens can stop him. Not gods, not fate, nothing. He's going to become the strongest, period. But the system isn't done with him yet. A new notification pops up. He now holds two types of spiritual energy, fire and lightning. And the system is offering to fuse them into a legendary tier attribute called Thunder Flame. He tells it to start the fusion immediately. Fire and lightning collide around his body, and he emerges wielding a power that shouldn't exist. Now the chapter shifts. We cut to a completely different scene. A rainy night at some kind of industrial facility. A new team is being briefed. Their target, a mutant beast. A giant snake with poison attribute. A girl in a hat. She seems capable but cautious, notes the poison is going to make this fight ugly. They're each handed jade orbs that can generate light barriers for emergency protection. The order is clear. Safety first, no heroics. They enter the building. Red eyes glow in the darkness. The snake strikes before they're ready. One of the guys manages to freeze it with an ice technique, and for a second, it looks like they've won. But the ice shatters. The snake breaks free, furious, pumping toxic green poison into the air. The team collapses. The girl hits the floor. Someone desperately calls headquarters for backup. We pick up right where Chapter 1 left off. Fuji Shinji is standing in a hospital room where a young girl named Mika is lying unconscious. Her father, Mr. Matsumoto, is desperate. The famous Dr. Lee has already examined her and put together an herbal prescription, ginger, aconite, cinnamon bark, codonopsis, pretty standard Eastern medicine stuff. And then Shinji just rattles off the exact same ingredients. Every single one. Precise dosages and everything, the nurses lose it. One of them whispers that it's identical to what Dr. Lee just prescribed. Another wonders if this kid actually has knowledge of Eastern medicine. Even Dr. Lee narrows his eyes, because there's no way some young guy should know all of that. But Dr. Lee isn't rattled for long. He points out that even his own prescription wouldn't be enough to wake the girl. So why should Shinji's be any different? And that's when Shinji drops the bomb. He says the prescription is incomplete. There's one crucial ingredient missing. Stardew flower. The room goes quiet. Dr. Lee's expression shifts. Not anger, but genuine shock. He explains that the stardew flower is a legendary plant. Star-shaped blue petals, silver pollen that glows at night. Its extract has incredible healing properties. But here's the catch. It belonged to an era when the earth was overflowing with spiritual energy. According to ancient texts, that flower simply does not exist in the modern world anymore. Mr. Matsumoto's face crumbles. He begs Dr. Lee. He'll pay anything, any amount of money. But Dr. Lee shakes his head. It's not about money. The flower just can't be found. Matsumoto's voice breaks. He asks if his daughter is going to stay like this forever, and Shinji, calm as ever, looks him dead in the eye and tells him not to worry. He promises he'll save Mika, completely, without leaving a single scar. Now the medical staff aren't buying it. One doctor flat out calls him a liar, and accuses him of eavesdropping on the earlier consultation. Another suggests he probably picked up the name Stardew Flower from a video game. Shinji doesn't argue. Instead, he mentally calls up his cheat system, the point exchange screen, and burns 5 points to materialize an actual Stardew Flower. Right there, out of thin air. He opens a small box, and inside is a glowing blue flower, shimmering with spiritual energy. Dr. Lee's jaw practically hits the floor. He staggers forward, asking how in the world this kid has a piece of legendary spiritual medicine. Shinji just smirks and asks if they believe him now. Dr. Lee immediately apologizes and tells him to go ahead with the treatment. Shinji approaches Mika's bedside and uses the Stardew flower. The energy flows from the blossom into her body. The monitors spike. Her temperature rises. Her vitals stabilize. The nurses are shouting that it's working. Mika's eyes flutter open for just a second. Shinji gently tells her to rest, that they'll see each other again soon. Then he turns to Matsumoto, confirms Mika will recover, and heads for the door. Matsumoto grabs his hands, thanking him over and over, inviting him for tea. But Shinji waves it off. He's got places to be. When Dr. Lee asks for his name, he gives it over his shoulder as he walks out. Fuji Shinji. That night, Shinji digs into research from his past life memories, a website called Electric Cultivationpedia that lays out 8 spiritual levels, from spirit awakening all the way up to imperial sovereign. He remembers that in his previous life, a war broke out over spiritual energy, and he was killed at only level 3 not. This time, he starts training using something called the Brahma, Raging Fire Technique, a purple grade cultivation method, and his body literally catches fire during the session. When he comes out of it, he's already hit level 2, Bubbling Spring, in a single session. That kind of progress is insane. But Shinji's miracle at the hospital didn't go unnoticed. Dr. Lee has reported everything to a powerful figure, Chairman Liu, who calls Shinji a potential prodigy that could change the future of the entire world. He orders a woman named Yue to go find the kid and test his strength. Shinji's walking home from a convenience store, still hungry from cultivation, humming to himself under the moonlight, totally relaxed. And then a voice cuts through the dark. Found you. It's Yue, standing on a rooftop above him. She mutters that she hopes he won't disappoint her, and launches a massive swirling blast of purple energy straight at him. Behind the explosion, a monstrous creature materializes, covered in spikes, dripping with mutated spiritual energy. Shinji looks up at the beast, and instead of panicking, he makes one cold observation. The mutations have already started. The chapter opens at night. Shinji's staring down a mutant beast, this feral dog-looking creature, crackling with purple energy, snarling at him in the middle of the street. And Shinji's first reaction? He covers his nose and complains about the smell. That's the kind of energy we're working with here. The beast lunges. It's fast, aggressive, slashing at him with these glowing claws. Shinji takes a hit. You can see it connect hard, and he grunts through the impact. But then he grits his teeth, gathers flames into his fist, and calls out his technique. Flame Emperor Fist. He launches himself at the beast and just obliterates it. One punch. The thing is done. He's standing over it smoking, barely winded, and he calls it a weakling. Then mutters that the hit actually made him hungrier, and he needs to eat. Meanwhile, and this is important, someone is watching from a rooftop. A girl with blue hair tucked under a cap. She's completely stunned. She can't believe he dropped a mutant beast with a single blow, and she recognizes that he's awakened the fire attribute. She also notices the beast's tail snapped on impact and starts questioning just how durable his body actually is. She decides right then she needs to report this to her superiors. Cut to the next morning. Shinji wakes up sore all over. He's brushing his teeth, looking at his bruises in the mirror, and admits to himself that he still needs way more training. He's powerful, but not where he wants to be. Then a news broadcast catches his attention. Breaking report about unprecedented temperatures at Mount Shiranui. Hikers have been ordered to evacuate. The whole area is dangerously hot, and the authorities are telling people to stay away. Shinji freezes, because he knows something nobody else does. Thanks to his memories from his past life, he recognizes that these extreme temperatures aren't some random weather event. Mount Shiranui's peak is surging with awakened fire attribute spiritual energy, and if he can get up there and absorb it, he could push his power to an entirely new level. Before he can leave, though, some girl with orange hair grabs him. She's demanding 200,000 for a designer bag, acting like he owes her something. Shinji's response is ice cold. He tells her to see a doctor instead and to stay away from him. She tries the guilt trip angle, threatens to leave him for good if he doesn't pay. He tells her to get lost and never come back. No hesitation. No second guessing. This version of Shinji doesn't have time for the baggage of the old life. He arrives at Mount Shiranui, and it's chaos. The mountain is glowing orange, heat waves rippling off the rocks. Police have set up barricades and caution tape. They're screaming at the crowd to stay back. The temperature beyond the line is genuinely lethal. That's when someone throws the corncob and everyone watches it pop in midair, and then Shinji just vaults over the barrier. Lands right in the blazing zone. The police are losing it, yelling at him to come back, telling him he'll die in there. But Shinji's already absorbing the energy. It hits him like a freight train. He feels every cell in his body burning. His hands ignite, flames pour from his eyes. The pain is unreal, but he pushes through it. And in the middle of that inferno, he makes a vow. In this life, he will become strong, no matter what. The crowd watches in disbelief. One bystander swears fire was coming out of his eyes. The police officer can barely form words. He whispers that the kid might actually be a god. After Shinji finishes absorbing the energy, the temperature across the entire mountain just drops. He soaked up all of it. He realizes he's drawn way too much attention and bolts. Shinji opens up, and standing there are two strangers. A large bearded man in traditional robes introduces himself as Liu Jinghu, the chairman of the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association. Next to him is a blue-haired woman in dark clothes, his subordinate named Yue, and she's just standing there playing on her phone, totally unbothered. Liu Jinghu gets right to the point. They're here because word got around about Shinji, specifically that he healed a woman named Matsumoto Mika recently. A Dr. Lee who was present reported it back to the association, and Mika herself has already joined their ranks. Liu Jinghu holds up a photo of Mika as proof. Now Shinji's processing this carefully. He knows the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association from his previous life, so he's not completely caught off guard. But he's thinking, in this new life, he shouldn't have any connections to these people yet. So how did they track him down so fast? Liu Jinghu makes his pitch, join the association. Shinji turns him down flat, says he's not really the organization type. He'd rather train solo for now and figure things out once spiritual energy has fully returned to the world. That's when Yue steps in. She tells Shinji they already know he's reached level 1, the spirit awakening stage, but insists that was just luck. Without the association's guidance, she says, he'll never break through to Bubbling Spring. She warns him that massive changes are coming to Earth, and when that happens, cultivation will be the only path to survival. Then she drops her own backstory. She used to think the same way Shinji does, that she could handle things alone. She rejected the association's invitation and spent 3 full years trying to awaken on her own. Nothing. After she finally joined, she hit Spirit Awakening in under a year. 3 more years of guided training after that, and she reached Bubbling Spring. Shinji nods along, throws her a thumbs up, tells her that's incredible, calls her a genius. Yue puffs up with pride, boasting that every member of the association is a genius. Meanwhile, Shinji's internal monologue is savage. He's thinking, 3 years to reach Bubbling Spring with full organizational support? She's honestly not that talented, but hey, he can't say that out loud. The recruitment pitch gets cut short. Liu Jinghu's phone goes off and his expression shifts instantly. A level 2 mutant beast, a giant poisonous snake, has appeared at just 30 kilometers away. He barks orders into the phone to seal the area, then turns to Shinji, apologizes for the sudden exit, and says they'll talk again soon. He and Yue rush out the door. Shinji watches them leave and clenches his fist. He reflects on his past life, the frustration, the weakness, all of it. He's decided that this time around, he's getting strong enough that he never feels that helpless again. But he also knows that even at the beginner level of Bubbling Spring, leveling up from here is going to be tough. He needs resources, specifically fire attribute spiritual energy. He's scrolling through his phone, checking for energy sources on a map when it rings. It's his friend Kotoge, absolutely panicking. The guy's screaming about his house being haunted. There's been thunder booming on the mountain behind his place all day long, but zero rain. The sky is pitch black and crackling with lightning. Shinji's eyes go wide. He immediately puts it together. That's not a haunting. That's rare lightning attribute spiritual energy reviving on that mountain. He runs through the attribute tiers in his head. Common types are water, fire, wind, earth, the basics. Rare attributes include ice, light, darkness, and lightning. Above that sit the legendary tier. Things like void. And he just unlocked a brand new attribute slot from his level 2 breakthrough. This is his shot. He tells Kotoge he's on his way, and to guard the mountain, don't let anyone near it. Cut to the factory. It's chaos. We hear screams echoing through the building. Someone's begging for help, and then we see it. This massive blue-scaled serpent, glowing with toxic green energy. Red eyes burning. The thing is terrifying. It's coiled around the factory interior, and it's been swallowing cultivators whole. Not just to eat them, to absorb their spiritual energy and force its own evolution. Yu is pressed against a wall, staring at this thing, and she realizes what's happening. If the snake completes its evolution, it'll become a disaster-level threat for the entire surrounding area. She can't let that happen, so she goes in. Yu launches ice attacks, fires razor-sharp shards at the snake, screaming for it to bring it on. She's giving everything she has. It's not enough. The snake whips its tail and sends her flying across the room. She hits the ground hard, face bloody, body wrecked. And as she lies there, the horrible truth hits her. The snake didn't start evolving. It already finished. It's level 3 now. She's too late. She's lying there thinking it's over, that nothing can stop this thing anymore. And then, Shinji lands in the factory. He looks around and actually chuckles. Recognizes the place. This is the same factory where he worked right out of high school. The president went bankrupt and still owes him a month's pay. Of all the places for a monster hunt, it had to be here. Yu spots him and immediately screams his name. Shinji casually tells her Chairman Liu sent him and asks where the rest of the team is. But Yue isn't relieved. She's panicking. She screams at him to run. This thing is level 3 now. It's way beyond what he should be able to fight. Shinji barely reacts. Just tells her to sit tight and let herself be rescued. He turns to face the snake. This evolved, level 3, poison-spewing monster that just destroyed an entire squad of cultivators. And Shinji, standing there with his dagger, just says, "All right, let's see what you've got." The snake lunges. Ye screams for him to get out of there, and Shinji goes full power. Fire erupts around his body. But that's not all. Blue lightning starts crackling across his arms, arcing down his blade. He's wreathed in both elements at once, and the visual is insane. He declares he'll shatter the darkness with a lightning strike, then rockets forward and punches the snake dead in the face with a fist charged with pure lightning energy. The impact is enormous. The snake goes tumbling backward through the factory. It actually tries to flee. This level 3 monster is running from him. Yue screams not to let it escape. Shinji doesn't even look worried. He grips his sword, fire and lightning swirling around the blade. Locks eyes on the snake and calls out his attack. Lightning flash. 1 slash. 1 blinding, building-shaking slash. And the snake is done. Cut clean through. Shinji stands there in the wreckage of the factory, with electricity still sparking off his body, and all he says is, "Job done." Yue is staring at him, mouth open, completely stunned. She manages to stammer out, "You've awakened 2 attributes?" Shinji thinks it over for a second. He remembers that the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association has a decent reputation. No shady rumors. They seem to genuinely help people. So he decides to be upfront. Yeah, he tells her, fire and lightning. Both of them. You can barely process it. She just keeps looking at him, wondering how much stronger this guy is going to get. The chapter kicks off inside a tense government meeting. A room full of officials from the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, all arguing over the same question. Should they tell the public that spiritual energy is back? One faction is pushing hard for disclosure. They point out that the incidents keep piling up, and they can only call so many supernatural disasters accidental occurrences before people stop buying it. One official gets especially heated. He brings up the factory incident from the night before and argues that if they'd warned the nearby residents ahead of time, they could have evacuated everyone. But the opposition fires back immediately. If they announce something like this, society collapses into panic. There's no undoing that kind of reveal. Then one of the officials drops a truth bomb that shuts the whole room up. He points out that the factory situation wasn't even handled by them. It was resolved by a young man they called in. Fuji Shinji, Chairman Liu, this intimidating older man with a thick red beard, slams the table with a single word and silences everyone. He acknowledges the point. He admits openly that without Shinji's help, he could have lost his own daughter and his subordinate, and civilians might have died. But he also recognizes the other side. Announcing the spiritual energy revival would cause massive upheaval. So, he offers a compromise. He pulls up a map showing locations where the revival has been confirmed and suggests using those areas as test sites. Promote them as tourist spots, monitor how the public reacts to the spiritual energy, and then decide on the next steps based on real data. The room agrees, but Liu isn't done. He opens a folder with Shinji's photo and profile inside and tells the committee he wants to recruit Shinji into the association. And not just as some low-level member. He wants to make him a squad leader. Instantly pushback. Several officials argue that handing a newcomer a vice director level position would breed resentment among the existing ranks. Chairman Liu counters by reminding them what they all witnessed. Shinji has awakened to both lightning and fire attributes. That's virtually unheard of. And offering someone that powerful a low position could backfire badly. You don't want to make an enemy out of a guy like that. They reach a compromise. Give Shinji a formal abilities test. If the results back up his strength, nobody can complain about his rank. Chairman Liu agrees, but there's this knowing look on his face. He tells them not to regret suggesting it. Like he already knows exactly how this is going to play out. Cut to Shinji's apartment the next morning. He's sprawled out on his bed, dead asleep, when he hears noises coming from inside his place. His first thought? A burglar. And he is furious about it. The guy is so broke he's living off bottom-shelf instant noodles, and now someone's robbing him? He charges out of bed, ready to throw hands, and standing in his kitchen, calmly sweeping the floor, is the silver-haired girl, his handler from before. She just looks up and says good morning, like nothing's weird about this at all. Shinji loses it. He reminds her they literally agreed yesterday that she would stop monitoring him. Her response? She's not here to monitor him. She's here to live with him. His reaction is priceless. Just a wide-eyed, completely speechless stare. Once they sit down and he recovers from the shock, she gets to the real reason she's there. The association wants him to take a test. Shinji shuts it down immediately. He says he remembers there are only 3 days left until the major spiritual energy revival hits, and he can't afford to waste time on something like this. He flat out tells her he's not interested, but she's smart about it. She explains that this test was designed specifically for cultivators. The location is set in an area where spiritual energy has already revived, and it would give him a chance to meet fellow awakened people. The difficulty level isn't that high either. That gets Shinji thinking. He remembers that Matsumoto Mika joined this organization too. He asks if Mika will be at the test. When the girl confirms it, something shifts behind his eyes. He recalls that Mika mentioned gaining important connections during the association's training. He wonders if something significant will happen during this test too. Just like that, he changes his mind. He tells her he'll participate, but makes it clear he has his own reasons. He's got business with Mika. The scene jumps to the training grounds. Chairman Liu stands before rows of new recruits in uniform and delivers a sobering speech. He tells them that the peaceful world they're used to is ending. and a world where death becomes an everyday reality is coming. Heavy stuff. He announces that an advanced cultivator will serve as their captain for this training exercise. Meanwhile, among the recruits, we spot some key players. There's a beautiful dark-haired girl with pink eyes, Chairman Liu's daughter, who quietly wonders if the incoming captain is the person her father told her had saved her. Then there's Kaori, a red-haired woman who whispers to the guy next to her that she saw someone wrapped in lightning on the mountain. The guy, a big tattooed brawler named Yoshi Ken, scoffs at her. He dismisses the idea of any captain and insists they're probably just some rich kid who bought their way in. He's already planning to intimidate whoever shows up to prove he's the strongest. On the way to the grounds, the silver-haired girl briefs Shinji on his team composition. 5 members total, 2 women and 3 men. She notes that aside from Mika's ice attribute, most of the team has ordinary elemental types. But she flags one name specifically, Yoshi Ken. Former underworld connections, wind attribute user, aggressive personality, hates taking orders from anyone. Shinji just nods and says he's got it. Chairman Liu announces the captain's arrival. Shinji walks in alongside the silver-haired girl. Casual as ever in his hoodie, the dark-haired girl recognizes him instantly. She realizes he's the one. She saw cloaked in lightning spiritual energy on the mountain that day, and then Yoshi Ken opens his mouth. He calls out to Chairman Liu directly, questioning whether this guy actually has any real power. He asks if Shinji is just going to be dead weight once things get serious, and warns that if that happens, nobody on the team will follow his orders. The chapter opens with tension right away. Shinji is standing in front of the squad, with Yoshi beside him, and he flat out says that Bubbling Spring level fighters can't handle him. And that sets someone off. One of the squad members, a big dude built like a tank, completely loses it, charges up his spiritual energy, and throws a full power punch straight at Shinji. Shinji doesn't flinch. He just catches the fist mid-swing. No effort, no technique. He just grabs it like he's picking up a tennis ball. And while this guy is channeling everything he's got, Shinji looks him dead in the eye and basically says, "That's it?" The chairman steps in, furious, demanding to know if they're planning to defy the association's orders. The insubordinate fighter tries to argue that a squad leader should have to prove himself, that nobody's going to follow a weak leader. And honestly, in this world, that's not a crazy take. But Yoshi, the big bearded guy, shuts the argument down by vouching for Shinji personally. He tells everyone that a few days back, Shinji soloed a giant snake monster and rescued Yue. That gets some shocked reactions from the group, though a few still dismiss it as dumb luck. The chairman ends the debate with a threat. Anyone who disrupts discipline again gets expelled from the association. Period. Everyone shuts up real fast after that. Now that the drama's settled, the chairman lays out the training mission. Their target is something called the Thorn Beast, a humanoid creature that can move freely. And before he sends them off, he drops a heavy reminder. Up until now, they might have thought the world was safe. But now that they've stepped onto the path of cultivation, that comfort is gone. Death is always close. You can feel the weight of it in his expression when he says it. This isn't a drill. This is real, and people can die. The squad heads into the forest to find the Thorn Beast. They reach the designated location, and Shinji immediately notices something strange. There's a massive tree nearby that's radiating spiritual energy, way more than anything around it. But he can't sense the monster the chairman described anywhere. He warns the group to keep their distance from that tree. Don't get close, just search the area for clues. And right on cue, Ken, the muscular guy with the tattoo sleeve, starts mocking him. He asks if their squad leader Fuji is getting cold feet. He jokes about does Shinji think the tree is going to suddenly get up and start walking? His buddy laughs along. Real funny, right? Shinji doesn't argue. He just calmly tells them, "I warned you. If you're choosing to ignore my orders, whatever happens is on you. Ken doesn't care." He storms off towards the tree with his crew, gushing about how incredible the spiritual energy is. He's got this whole fantasy playing out in his head. If he absorbs enough energy here and reaches level 3, even Yue would have to follow him. He's literally daydreaming about girls fawning over him while sitting right next to the thing that's about to try and kill him. Meanwhile, Shinji stays back with Yue and Mika. There's a nice little character moment here. Yue recognizes Shinji. She brings up a mountain with terrifying lightning, and Shinji plays dumb, pretending he doesn't remember. Yue gets annoyed and explains that her team was dispatched to deal with the lightning attribute's spiritual energy revival on that mountain. And because of whatever Shinji did up there, she got chewed out by her superiors for hours afterward. Shinji apologizes, all casual about it. He tells the two of them to use this area to train, since the spiritual energy is abundant. When Mika asks why he won't train too, he says the energy here doesn't match his attributes. Makes sense. The guy runs on lightning, not whatever this tree is putting out. And then, Shinji internally notes that Mika is still as kind as she was in her previous life. A small reminder that he carries memories and connections from before his reincarnation. Then the screaming starts. From the direction of the giant tree, someone is yelling for help. Shinji, Yue, and Mika all snap to attention. And what they see is horrifying. The tree itself has started moving. Its roots are tearing out of the ground. Its branches are swinging like massive bladed limbs. The thing they were sitting next to, meditating beside, was the thorn beast the entire time. Ken panics. The tree wasn't just radiating spiritual energy to be generous. It was luring them in. Ken tries to fight back, charging up his attack and punching one of the branches. It cracks against the wood, but the tree doesn't care. A massive thorn-covered limb swings around and slashes straight through one of the squad members. Blood sprays everywhere. Ken gets launched, tumbling through the air. And as he's flying, battered and bleeding, the chairman's words echo back to him. Once you've stepped onto this path, death is always close. He hits the ground hard, staring up at the monstrous tree advancing on him. And the thought running through his mind is just, am I going to die here? So we pick up right where things got dangerous. Ken, the big muscular squad member who's been giving Shinji attitude, plants his feet and says, abandoning your team makes you the lowest kind of person. Shinji looks at him, almost impressed, and comments that Ken's got guts. But there's no time for bonding. Shinji grabs his knife and starts channeling his lightning flame attribute into the blade. Electricity crackles down the metal. The whole thing lights up blue-white. And Ken just stares with his jaw on the floor. Before anyone can react, Shinji launches the knife forward in a burst of energy that rips through the thorn beast's incoming attack and saves one of the squad members mid-swing. The guy literally screams his thanks mid-air as the blast sends him tumbling to safety. Then the ground starts shaking, like full-on earthquake. The squad panics, and when the dust settles, the thing crawls out of the earth in full view. A bubbling spring level 3 thorn beast. This massive tree-like monster made of gnarled wood and thorns, red eyes glowing, towering over everyone. The squad is frozen. Ken can barely get the words out, demanding to know what kind of creature they're looking at. And Shinji? Completely calm. He reminds them of Chairman Liu's words. The path of cultivation always carries the risk of death. Then he turns towards the beast and says, cold as ice, that anyone afraid of dying should quit cultivation right now. And then he powers up. Fire and lightning erupt from his body simultaneously. This full aura of flame and crackling energy wrapping around him. The panel is gorgeous. He charges straight at the thorn beast, dodging its massive thorned limbs at blinding speed. It swings, he weaves. It roars. He closes the distance. And then, lightning flame fist. His fist connects and the beast's entire body catches fire. Chunks of wood and bark fly everywhere. The creature screams. And Ken, watching from the sideline, loses his mind, yelling that there's no way Shinji is this strong. Even the red-haired girl on the squad is stunned. Murmuring about the power of a lightning attribute awakened. And Mika, quiet, reserved Mika, stares at Shinji walking through the aftermath, wreathed in flame and lightning, and thinks to herself that this is what heroes from novels must look like. Meanwhile, back at headquarters, a room full of officials is watching this unfold on monitors. Someone mutters that they had no idea Fuji Shinji was hiding this level of power. Chairman Liu stands there, arms crossed, and asks the room if anyone still has complaints about making him a squad leader. The response is immediate. Frantic denials. Nobody has a single objection anymore. But then everything shifts. An earthquake hits the city too, and Chairman Liu's expression goes dark. He confirms what his staff suspected. The Earth's spiritual energy has fully recovered. And the world, he says, is about to be turned upside down. Back in the forest, a massive column of ice blue energy erupts from underground. Shinji puts it together instantly. This is isotribute spiritual energy, and it connects to what Mika told him in his previous life. She never had enough power to absorb it back then, but now. He turns to her and tells her to absorb it, that it'll make her stronger. Mika agrees without hesitation, and in Shinji's mind, the resolve is crystal clear. They'll get stronger together in this life and take revenge on everyone who killed them before. Time skip. The squad celebrates at a restaurant. Mika jumped from Bubbling Spring level 1 straight to level 3 in one session. Ken, now completely won over, tearfully begs forgiveness for disrespecting Shinji and pledges his loyalty. Shinji waves it off, calls Ken a true comrade, and leaves it at that. But the celebration gets cut short. An evacuation order blares through the streets. Military cultivators, soldiers radiating spiritual energy, flood the area, pushing civilians out. Shinji watches carefully, noting that Chairman Liu's people are mobilizing. Then one of the soldiers gets in Ken's face, telling the squad to leave or die. Ken snaps, grabs the soldier, and demands respect for his captain. The soldier raises his weapon. So we kick off Chapter 10 with a flashback, 3 hours before the main events. Inside a military command center, officers are at each other's throats. Spiritual energy on Earth has suddenly recovered, and nobody was ready for it. One guy's blaming the surveillance teams, another's pointing fingers back. It's chaos. Then the general slams the table. He doesn't care about excuses. Their number one priority is an escaped mutant dog that could tear through civilians at any moment. He turns to one officer by name, Kawasaki, and gives him the mission directly. Capture the beast by tomorrow morning. No exceptions. Everyone else gets deployed to the border, because with spiritual energy back in play, the old peace isn't going to hold. Keita takes charge. We cut to the present. Kawasaki Keita, Captain Kawasaki now, is on the ground running the operation. He's got armed soldiers, a perimeter set up, and he's evacuating civilians from the area. The guy clearly takes his job seriously. But then he spots a group of people hanging around where they shouldn't be, eating food at a table like it's a casual night out. He marches over and tells them to clear out. This is a military operation. And that's when he hears a familiar voice calling his name. Keita turns around and sees him. Shinji. Our MC, just standing there with that relaxed look on his face. Keita's expression lights up. These two go way back. High school classmates. And Keita, being Keita, immediately starts insisting he's Shinji's big bro, not just a classmate. His squad members notice the shift in their captain's mood and politely excuse themselves to give the two space. Information exchange. As they walk together through the city at night, Shinji comments on how impressive it is that Keita rose to a military executive position. But Keita brushes past the compliment. He's got something urgent to share. He leans in close and explains what's actually going on. A mutant dog escaped containment, and it's hiding somewhere in this sealed-off district. The military's here to hunt it down before it reaches anyone. Now here's where it gets interesting. Shinji hears mutant dog, and his mind immediately goes somewhere else. He's thinking about Yue, the powerful figure who's been testing him. Could this be the same creature Yue released as part of his trial? Instead of being worried, Shinji sees an opportunity. He asks Keita if he can tag along and watch the operation. Internally, he's thinking this is a perfect chance to gauge how strong the military actually is. Keita agrees, partly because he wants Shinji to see firsthand how dangerous the world has become now that spiritual energy is back. Keita assigns a soldier named Hayakawa to escort Shinji to a safe observation point. Hayakawa is all business, tells Shinji flat out that he doesn't care who Shinji knows. He's following his orders from here. Shinji just smiles and agrees. The hunt goes wrong. While waiting, Shinji scans the soldiers with his abilities. He notes they're all around Bubbling Spring level 1 in spiritual energy. Decent, but nothing extraordinary. Then he senses it before anyone else does. The mutant dog has arrived, alarms go off. And this thing is massive. A huge red beast engulfed in purple spiritual energy, with glowing crimson eyes. It crashes into the hunting grounds, and soldiers go flying on impact. The military opens fire immediately, rifles blazing, muzzle flashes lighting up the night. But the bullets spark off this creature like they're hitting steel. Then, the worst possible thing happens. The beast throws its head back and howls, and a shockwave of purple energy rips outward. Keita's face drops. He recognizes what's happening. The mutant dog is absorbing the recovered spiritual energy and evolving mid-battle. He screams at his squad to stop it at all costs. If it finishes evolving, the entire unit is done for. Soldiers charge in and get swatted away like nothing. The energy explodes outward. When the dust clears, the mutant dog stands completely transformed. It's bigger. Bone spikes jut from its back. Flames and purple energy swirl around it like a living storm. It's not the same creature anymore. It's something on a completely different level. Keita stares up at it. His face says everything. He whispers that it's over. So the chapter kicks off right in the chaos. This massive, glowing, pink-furred mutant beast. We're talking horns! Fangs, red energy pouring off it, has just leveled up. And the military squad that was supposed to handle it is getting destroyed. The captain doesn't back down, though. He rallies his special forces, tells them they have no choice but to fight because civilians are at risk. They charge in together. It goes badly. The beast swipes through them like they're nothing. Soldiers get launched. The captain himself takes a direct hit. Gets thrown into a wall, blood running down his face. He's crumpled in the rubble, barely conscious, looking up at this monster closing in, and you can see it on his face. That moment where he's genuinely thinking this might be the end. Then, lightning. Blue and white electricity cracks across the sky, and there's Shinji standing between the captain and the beast, sparking with raw power. He doesn't hesitate. He looks at his injured friend, looks at the monster, and basically tells it, "You hurt my friend, so now you die." And the soldiers watching? Their jaws drop, because none of them knew Shinji could do any of this. Shinji goes straight at this thing. He pulls out a military knife, channels his lightning into it, and lands a hit so hard that the soldiers on the sidelines can't believe what they're seeing. One of them mutters that this creature is a level 4 bubbling spring mutant dog, and Shinji just damaged it in a single strike. The beast roars, tries to retreat, but Shinji isn't having it. He chases it down, calls out a technique, magic infusion, and his fist erupts with golden blue flames fused with lightning. He drives the attack straight into the creature. The beast howls. The soldiers are frozen, watching. The captain, still bleeding on the ground, just stares and says, "Shinji is amazing." But here's the catch. The military-grade knife, it shatters. Shinji's power is so intense that a normal weapon can't even hold it. He stares at his glowing fist and realizes he needs to find a proper weapon. Something that can actually channel what he's got. After the fight, the captain runs up to Shinji, asking how he's been hiding this kind of strength the whole time. Shinji plays it cool, tells his friend to calm down and stop moving because he's injured, then hands cleanup duty to the soldiers. Now here's where it gets political. The scene cuts to a military office where a sharp-looking woman, clearly someone with serious rank, is watching footage of Shinji's fight on a laptop. She asks the captain about him, and the captain proudly says Shinji is his best friend. She wants to recruit Shinji into the military, but the captain admits Shinji already joined the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, Liu Jinghu's group. The woman's eyes narrow. She says she'll send someone to sort it out. Next morning, Shinji's back at the apartment with Liu Jinghu, eating breakfast like nothing happened. She warns him that the commander-in-chief's daughter has been hounding the chairman trying to get to Shinji. He jokes about whether they're trying to marry him off. Then his phone rings. It's Kawasaki Keita's number, but the voice on the other end belongs to someone named Fuma Natsuki, Keita's superior, and what she says immediately grabs Shinji's attention. She knows a location where intense fire attribute spiritual energy is pouring out. Shinji's eyes light up. Fire attribute is exactly what he's been struggling to find to power up further. Cut to Shinji riding shotgun in a sports car with Fuwa-san. She's a vice commander in the military, and she's got a proposal for him. While they're racing towards the site, she lays it out. Now that spiritual energy is back on Earth, the country needs to build a cultivator force for national security. Problem is, most of the powerful cultivators out there are loose cannons who can't play nice with others. But she's heard good things about Shinji from Kawasaki Keita, that he's got real ability and good character. She asks him flat out to join the military and help train the next generation of cultivators. Promises him favorable treatment and everything. And Shinji? He turns her down. Politely but firmly, he tells her he's got too much on his plate right now. Specifically, he wants to see the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association's personnel development succeed before he commits to anything else. Fuwa-san actually respects this. She smiles and calls him a principled person. She's impressed, not offended. Oh, and there's a funny moment in the car where Fuwa teases Shinji about Liu Yue, and he completely loses his cool, insisting she was only sent to monitor him. Fuwa just smirks through the whole thing. They arrive at the construction site, and it's chaos. Crowds pushing against the barricade. Media everywhere with cameras. And who shows up in the middle of all this? Naka Yuto, this blonde pretty boy in a purple suit with a girl hanging off his arm. He spots Shinji and immediately starts talking trash, calling him an errand boy and mocking him with this smug grin. But here's the beautiful part. Shinji doesn't even acknowledge him. The media cameras swing toward Fuwa-san, and the reporters lose their minds over her. Yuto tries to introduce himself to Fuwa, turning on the charm. And she doesn't spare him a single glance. Shinji just calls him a rubbernecker and keeps walking. Yuto is left standing there, completely shut down in front of the cameras and the crowd. The bystanders are laughing. Even the girl with Yuto is fuming, because Fuwa made her invisible by comparison. But all of that drama fades the second Shinji and Fuwa step past the military cordon and into the danger zone. The fire inside has gotten even worse. Fuwa pulls out a device that measures spiritual energy concentration, and the readings are climbing fast. She's visibly alarmed. She starts barking orders to extend the warning perimeter by 5 kilometers. Then corrects herself and says, make it 10. And then Shinji does something that shocks everyone. He starts walking toward the fire. Not away from it. Not cautiously. He walks directly into the heart of this raging blue inferno that the entire military has been helpless against. Fuwa screams after him. Soldiers are yelling. But Shinji keeps going. He steps into the flames, and his cheat system activates. It detects massive fire attribute spiritual energy all around him and gives him one simple prompt. Absorb it? His answer? Immediate. The absorption begins, and the energy pouring into Shinji is so intense that the shockwave knocks soldiers off their feet from a distance. Fuwa is watching with her hand over her mouth, doing the math in her head. If he absorbs all of this fire energy, he could reach bubbling spring level 4. No, maybe even level 6, the meter climbs. 90%? Then 100. Every last drop of that catastrophic fire that had the military scrambling for days. Shinji just drank it all in, like it was nothing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.